Books are so foundational to, I think, humanity. We know it creates analytical skills, it creates reasoning skills. It gives you freedom to live outside of the world you're in.
In 2020, 270 books were banned. In 2024, that number grew to over 10,000.
In universities, this is called critical race theory. Critical race theory.
And it has a symbol of Satan.
This is a nationwide effort with an organized playbook for how to get their ideological views across. There's so much noise. It's a classic authoritarian regime format, is give people so much noise that they can't focus on the things that really matter. This book is the number 10 most banned book in the country. It's a beautiful book. I have no idea why anyone in their right mind would ban this book. What I believe in, you might not. Both of those opinions are valid. That's what this country was founded on.
I'm in New York! Hey! And I'm gonna be talking to the CEO of a super cool company called Macmillan Publishers. His name is Jon Yaged. Jon has been the CEO for about 3 years, and they're one of the big 5 publishers, one of the top 5 publishers globally. They do about $1.4 billion in revenue, but they are a private company, so that's according to a variety of sources. They have about 1,300 employees. We're gonna be talking to Jon about book bans across the United States and all that comes with that politically, how he's been growing this business, and of course, how technology is affecting the book industry. My name is William Salvi, and this is the CEO series, where we have real conversations with real CEOs. And by the way, you got to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's the best channel on executives. Let's go. All right, we're with the CEO of Macmillan Publishers, Jon Yaged. Jon, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm interested, how did you become the CEO? I know it's relatively new for you, so how did you become the CEO of Macmillan?
Yeah, it's almost 3 years right now. I started the company nearly 15 years ago, running the children's division. My background, well, I'm sure we'll talk some more about it, was varied, but I had been running a children's division at Disney for a while, did a quick stint at an early stage social media marketing company, and then came here to Macmillan, ran the children's division for 10 years. There was a change of leadership at the top and became the president and then the CEO.
How did the interview process go? Like, what was that like? Or was it just an appointment? Like, tell me, because the last few CEOs that we've filmed, they've been in the interview process. So I'm interested, we've all done interviews.
Yeah.
But what's the CEO interview like?
You know, I think I was doing the interview for the 12 years before. It was a plan. I mean, we had been talking about a succession plan here. We've been talking about me taking over one day, and then time came. So it was part of a plan. Was it a given? No, but you know, by the time I became president, it was pretty clear that when the other guy was ready to move on, I was going to be the CEO.
You were an attorney,
Yeah.
And then you got into books. So did you have a passion for books? Just tell me your journey on getting here.
Well, I'm originally from Brooklyn, right over there. And I grew up in New Jersey, and I mention that because I think it all impacts how my career developed. So I went to school, I went to GW, was a finance major. While I was at GW, I started working with the campus program board, bringing concerts to campus. And I got really into music. I wanted to be a music promoter. And I got bit by the music bug. You know, my grandfather was a professional musician, so I had this in my life. I want to be in this business. And at the time, the movers and shakers were lawyers. Like, I'm going to go back. I'm going to be a lawyer. So I started looking to come back to New York. New York was a music capital of the country. And I got a call from the eldest brother of one of my childhood friends who was running the back office of a Swedish bank and said, look, enough of this entertainment stuff. You're a finance major, come work for me. It's the only job I ever got because I knew someone. And I did, you know, trading support for interest rate derivatives for a year. I'm not a banker. But I left and I went to law school. And I came out of law school and I got a job at a small entertainment firm here in the city. Did film, did television, visual arts licensing, music, and book publishing. And that's where I got exposed to books and the whole world of books, and I loved it.
Are you a big reader?
I am, you know, I read a lot for work now, but I was a very stereotypical boy reluctant reader. It wasn't until I got older that I really embraced books and reading as a passion and as a joy, as opposed to something you did for school.
I hear there's a secret room
Yeah, there is.
Can you give me a little CEO exclusive here?
So when we moved into this office in 2019, we built this cafe that we could look at in a minute. We could have events in there, and sometimes you need a green room, right? You want to set it up. So you want a green room close to the cafe, and we're a book publisher, and we want to have some fun. So what better place to have a green room?
Oh, look at this.
There,
Come
guys.
on through. I think a lot of reading goes on in here. Wow. What's your day-to-day as a CEO?
It varies. I do a lot of meetings. I'm not a micromanager, but I'm very present. So I do have a lot of meetings. I also have, a lot of direct reports. So that's a structure that probably I got to think about. But I have 15 direct reports, which is a little high. But all the publishers, 8 of them are publishers. So it's, keeping that connection to the business. So it's astonishing how much time just gets taken up with whatever the moment of the day is. I do block off times for myself. Almost every day they get sucked up with, I need 15 minutes, I need a half hour, so-and-so is calling from this association. So I'm a little bit more reactive than I'd like to be, but I want to be present. I want people to know that I'm accessible, open door policy. I mean, I sit in a cube. I have a workstation. Yeah. I have a conference room that I spend a lot of my day into, but yeah.
What are your thoughts on CEOs and people, how they perceive CEOs right now? If you asked me, I would say that specifically big company CEOs. So if you mention a company that's in the billions in revenue, I would say that the general public would view you negatively. Oh, you make so much more money than the average employee. The average employee makes the money for the company. What are you actually there for? So what are your thoughts on the role of CEO? And on top of that, what are your thoughts on the perception of big company CEO?
Well, I think that there were some CEOs over time that probably did stretch it a little bit. But I will tell you, it's way harder than it looks. And I'll tell you a quick story. When I was a young lawyer, there was a senior associate, I was a junior associate. And we'd be like, oh, that managing partner, man, if I was a managing partner, I would do it so different. I'd be so much better. Guess what? He became managing partner of that firm. And as soon as he got the job, about a year, and he calls me up and says, John, it's way harder than it looks. So you have the weight of 1,300 souls. And you want to make decisions that are best for them. And there's no playbook. Another fun story is when I was very close we have a division in the children's group that is operated out of London. I was really close to the group. So I went there right after I was named CEO and just checked in with everyone and was there for other reasons as well. And one of the designers said to me, hey, so CEO, that's really big. What kind of training did you get for that? Yeah, and it was a really interesting question. And I said, it's just sort of your life experience up to that point, but there's not the CEO training course. And yes, I've used coaches over time and you learn from your mentors, but it was I think about it today. I mean, that was 3 years ago she said that to me. And you have to have good judgment. I think it helps to be altruistic in my world. Not all people feel that way. All right. There you go.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah, no, it works good.
What trends are you noticing? Because obviously people are consuming digital content, videos, honestly, I would say at an alarming rate. And the attention spans are getting shorter. Content is becoming far more niche. So what trends are you noticing in the book world?
I mean, genre is big. So that still works. So romantasy we talked about.
Tell me about Macmillan Publishers a little bit more. Tell me about the divisions. Give me a little insight on the business.
Yeah, sure. So we have 8 publishing divisions, including our audio division. We publish books all the way from infants through adult. One of the neat things about Macmillan, it was sort of the Macmillan of today was built through reacquiring different publishers that had at one point or another been part of a Macmillan umbrella. But Macmillan in the US was a spin-off from Macmillan in the UK, in the 1800s. But it sort of developed as its own separate thing and was run pretty separately. Now we're all sort of coordinated and we work together. There's a woman, Joanna Pryor, runs our business in the UK, and we work closely together, but they are separate businesses under Holtzbrink. So here in the US, we have these 7 different divisions that have published original works, plus the audio makes 8, and they all have different personalities. And what's sort of fun for me is that even just today, I have 2 publishers wanting to buy the same book. When you read the memo they sent me to get approval, I have to approve once it hits a certain advanced level. You wouldn't even think they're the same book. Their vision is so different for the book, and I love that every time. And I do think that's what differentiates us a little bit too. our publishers have an incredibly uniqueness among themselves. St. Martin's Press, they generally do commercial fiction and nonfiction. There's a bunch of other stuff in there as well. Celadon is a very small curated list of upmarket fiction. Flatiron, also a smaller size list, bigger than Celadon, of upmarket fiction. Tor is a genre publisher based in science fiction and fantasy originally, now get huge in romantasy with their Bramble imprint. They have horror as well.
What's romantasy?
Romantasy is...
I need to read more.
Romantasy is the hottest thing out there. It's fantasy and romance mixed together.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's...
I figured.
It's
that was
super,
kind of a silly question.
Well, it's super hot right now.
Okay.
It's super hot.
What about percentages of the business? So like, I know there's obviously like the hardcover books, then there's ebooks. Break down like the percentages of everything.
Yeah. I'll just give you physical books, ebooks, and audiobooks, and digital audio. Audio is pretty much digital at this point. So about 65% of our business is physical books still. About 20% of it is ebooks, and about 15%, 16% is audio.
Okay.
And that audio number
is growing.
If we went back to like even 8 years ago, that would be like 3%.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then when you think of like book publishing, forgive me, you almost kind of think like it's a dying breed. But your sales last year, I think, were up 18%. Did I see in 2024? From the previous year. So how are you growing your business in a time that average person like me would think, oh, book publishing, like content, digital content's going crazy right now, like more people getting into books. Like, tell me about how you guys are increasing sales.
I mean, ever since there's been a book, there's been people talking about the demise of publishing. It's one of those things. It's been going on for hundreds of years, and we continue to grow. The industry-wide, it's not just us. We've been having an extraordinary run over the last 5 years. We've had 2024 was our best year in terms of revenue and profit. 21 was our best year of revenue and profit before then. So in this window post-COVID, and even the tail end of COVID, it's been great for us. And that's been driven mostly by investments we've made in authors and developing them and working with them. Their books staying in the frame of reference for people. So when you look at the industry, I think 22 was a high watermark for print books even. Not just the whole industry, but more books printed ever in the history of the world in those years. We fell back a little bit. I think 24 is going to be near the peak. So yeah, people have been singing sort of the death knell of publishing forever, and it's just not true. And guess what? Ebooks count as reading. When people listen to an audio, they most say, yeah, I read that book. They don't say I listened to it. Some people do, but it's a different...
It's like a trophy.
Well,
when you read a book, it is for me.
I mean, yeah. I mean, listen, a lot of people buy books just to have on as an item too, but people still love reading. It's an accessible form. It's still relatively inexpensive. You can learn a lot. It's portable. It doesn't need a battery unless you have an ebook, right? So there's a lot of good things about books, and it's still resonating. The genre, the format is still resonating. Books as a thing are still resonating with people. Oh, it's super cool, right?
Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence, specifically generative AI.
Yep.
I could tell ChatGPT literally right now on my phone, write me a book. And I theoretically could just I could get some artwork and go sell it online. Is that good or bad for the industry?
I mean, there's always been some new thing coming along, and publishers have adapted and grown. I think humanity knows humanity better than machines do. I don't know, maybe that'll change over time. And I think the maximum of creativity comes in the outliers. And chatbots aren't designed for outliers. They're designed for sort of lowest common denominator. So yeah, they'll be able to create some stuff, and it'll probably be good in a lot of ways. But ultimately, for what we're doing, it's going to be human first, I believe. I really do.
How is the, self-publishing books on Amazon, how has that affected your business? Has it been positive, negative?
I think it's been an interesting dynamic. The world of self-publishing was a little sketchy 20 years ago. It was almost that feeling of vanity publishing. You had to pay someone to print your books, and now it's sort of come out from under the shadows, and a lot of people, it gives them a lot of flexibility, and a lot of authors start in self-publishing and find their way to traditional publishing. So I think it's been an interesting sort of farm team for publishing.
Yeah. You almost like find talent without needing that agent or...
Well, I mean, a lot of them wind up getting agents once they get really successful.
Right.
But the discoverability, they become, they make a mark for themselves.
So where are we go?
We're heading to the audio group. It looks like there's actually there's 2 studios here for recording audiobooks. At least one of them's in use. If the other one's not, we can poke in if you want to see it. It's always
I would
fun
love to see. How long do these take? So if it's like a 500-page book, how long does that take?
An audiobook is going to be around 10 hours to read a typical length book, but it could take these guys days.
Tiring.
It is, yeah, it's a big deal.
How often is the author the one doing the narration?
A lot, particularly on nonfiction and memoir, and that's one of the trends too. Is when a lot of these memoirs, when you have, especially if it's a celebrity memoir, when they read their own book, and in memoir you almost have to, the audiobook almost becomes the dominant form. You know, we published Matthew Perry's book.
I remember his voice. My wife's a big fan of Matthew McConaughey.
Matthew Perry.
Matthew Perry.
Matthew Perry. The McConaughey was good too, but Perry, we published that book, and then,
he did the audio for it.
Oh yeah, and at this point, I think the audio and the printed book are about the same number of units. Incredibly successful book.
That was a really bad faux pas by me to talk about Matthew Perry and then immediately talk about my wife liking Matthew McConaughey. All right. What do you think books play in our society? Deep question.
How much time do we have?
Yeah. Go off. Yeah.
It's books are so foundational to, I think, humanity. First off, it's never bad to read. And there's a lot of studies that show the more you read, the more exposure you have to books, the more success you're going to have in life. It gives you freedom to live outside of the world you're in. People always talk about books being mirrors and doors and windows. It's all of those things. So I think that when you're in the world of books, it opens up an incredible amount of opportunity. And now in our society, we're in a democracy. You need to have people that are critical thinkers, analytical thinkers. You want to have discourse. Books is a great way to have that get that conversation starting. So I think it's foundational for humanity. I think it's fundamental for democracy, and I don't think you can overstate it.
I'm glad you brought it up. I'm going to bring up some things. So you said it's foundational for democracy. I'm going to list off some things here, and then I have a few questions. So I believe like 270 books were banned in 2020. In 2024, that number grew to over 10,000. Idaho House passed Bill 710, allowed community members to sue for $250 in damages if the material mentioned anything about
They got a bounty. They got a bounty.
Texas passed their Bill 3979, which restricts the teaching of race, racism, or gender issues, known as their critical race theory law. Florida passed their Don't Say Gay bill. Then you have the Trump administration and the DOD and the Department of Education. They're defunding libraries. They're pulling away grants. If we could, of these, is there any that have been banned?
Yeah, so this right here, Flamer, Mike Corrado, this book is the number 10 most banned book in the country in 2024. I think it's been banned every year since it came out. So it's about, I think, 4 or 5 years at this point.
And what's it about?
It's a coming of age story of middle schoolers. It's really what it is. I have no idea why anyone in their right mind would ban this book. It's a beautiful book. I think every middle schooler has had an experience that's similar to what's in this book.
What they're targeting is a very specific, it's LGBTQ, race, gender. It's very specific, and I was reading all those laws that passed, and I think it's around like 10 states now. So what do you like when you hear the mumbling that maybe a law is going to be passed? What do you start to lobby Washington? Like, what is the game plan when states or even departments of education start to ban books?
It's hard because when it's a law, you can do something about it. When it's at a community level and it's some policy, it's hard. It's not written down. So, for example, there's approximately 13,000 school districts in the United States. Every one of those is a battlefield for book banning, and a lot of those just don't even have written policies. They'll just ban a book if challenged. Others are great and they won't do that. But the fact is, a lot of these things don't even rise up to an area where you'll see it until your author or someone from the community contacts a publisher and said, hey, do you know your book is being banned? There's so much noise. It's a classic authoritarian regime format, is give people so much noise that they can't focus on the things that really matter. I'm talking to anyone I can about what's going on in the world, and I'm in different groups in my private life, and some people are like, John, there's no book banning. People are just looking out for their families, or looking out to keep their kids. I'm like, no, that's not what's going on. This is a concerted effort. This isn't like 10 parents in a community banding together saying, hey, we think this is bad. This is a nationwide effort with an organized playbook for how to get their ideological views across. And that is not what this country is founded on. And we need to have the anti-playbook, or the playbook against them. So we are giving some tools to those communities. Here's the people you can call, because a lot of it has to come from the community. Then we'll jump on board when we can. When we hear there's a law coming, we'll, a couple of our publishing colleagues, and we can coordinate on this through the AAP and other organizations. We'll write letters, we'll join lawsuits. We have started to lobby in certain cases. So the publishing industry has really rallied around this. So it's something that we have to do. It's existential. I mean, think of it from just a purely business point of view, which it's way bigger than that. And I think of this as a human issue, not necessarily a business issue. But from a business point of view, you have people trying to legislate my product out of existence.
Right.
It's ludicrous in the United States.
Do you have one daughter?
I do, yeah.
Okay. How old is she?
She just turned 18.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
So I have a daughter. She's 10 months old.
Oh, wow.
But I'm wondering, is there any...
I'll call you in 18 years.
Yeah, right. I'm wondering, is there any instance or occasion where, as a parent, you think, no, I don't want that to be in schools being taught?
If something is factual, if something is not hurtful, it should be out there, and then it helps the world learn, okay, I need to decipher, I need to weed through the goods and the bads, right? And who am I? What I believe in is you might not. Both of those opinions are valid.
All right, fire round, you ready?
Ready.
What's your top vacation destination?
I love Tuscany.
Top 3 movies?
Cool Hand Luke, The Hustler, and then I'm gonna go with Smokey and the Bandit.
Biggest fear?
Anything that bad happens to my daughter.
What's an outside hobby that you have?
I race cars.
Keep going.
I thought it was the fire round. I race vintage Formula cars. They're called Formula Fords. They were the original sort of entry-level class for Formula One racers. So Ayrton Senna, Emerson Fittipaldi, Martin Brundle, if you're into Formula One at all those guys cut their teeth on the cars that I race now.
How often do you do this?
It's about once a month in the from spring until the end of the year. Yeah. So
where do you go for that? You're in New York.
It's all over. So there's a track in southern Jersey. They have two tracks in one facility. Summit Point, West Virginia. There's Virginia International Raceway. That's like central South Virginia. Watkins Glen, New York is a legendary track. I go to Roebling Road outside of Savannah in Georgia. I think I covered them all. Those are Thompson, Connecticut. I was there last month.
How fast do you go in these cars?
They're not that fast. I mean, 125-ish, but the thing
I don't think I've gone over like 100.
Well, you should, but do it on the track. Do it on the track. I will tell you, so I've been in cars my whole life. I grew up next to a drag strip. The first real job I had was selling souvenirs at a racetrack. I did that from the time I was 15 to the time I was 30. Like as a lawyer, I'd go back on the weekends to work at the track just because that's what I did. And I just love cars. And my dad was a little into cars too. I've taken it a step further. So I had driven street cars on the track. I'd never driven a race car. And once I drove a race car on the track, I was just hooked. I was absolutely hooked.
I gotta try that. You just said your first job, so I'm actually gonna switch it. What was your worst job?
My worst job was probably an internship when I was in law school at a music law firm, summarizing contracts. I learned a lot, but they just put me in a closet and no one talked to me all day.
What's your favorite book?
Now you can't ask a publisher that
How
question.
about this? Can I ask you if you'll answer it? And come on, favorite non-Macmillan book?
One of my favorite books of all time is it's a picture book. It's a children's picture book called The True Story of the Three Little Pigs. It's sort of a snarky comic retelling of the Three Little Pigs by John Chesky and Lane Smith, both whom I've got to work with over the years. They're incredible creators and everyone should read it. It's a super fun book.
Who are you most thankful for?
My parents.
Who is a CEO you admire but do not know?
There's something about Jamie Dimon that I think is just wild. He's ran that organization, changed it, and there's just something about him. I'd love to get to know that guy.
Tell me about your best friend.
It's a group of guys. It's all the guys from college, and it's the classic stereotype. We can not see each other forever, but we're in a room together. It was like we were with each other 2 minutes ago. Fun, funny, witty. They keep it very real. Most of them are in the not-for-profit world. A couple of them are lawyers. So it's a nice mix.
Keeping it real means you guys give each other all the time.
Correct.
Yeah. You seem to have like an optimistic outlook on.
Yeah, my friends wouldn't agree.
Well, you just like everything, the way you've been just generally chatting seems optimistic, both about the industry and because I would expect the opposite. I would expect book publishing to be in a challenging moment with technology and with content, specifically video content, and just the way we all consume. I mean, you had mentioned earlier with like younger children, if they're not reading, it's a problem, maybe not now, but like 10, 15 years down the line. Like, what does our population look like if we have a bunch of non-readers?
It won't be good.
No,
it won't be good. And people have been calling for this for decades now. It hasn't happened. So I have to believe that there's still something innately human about a book, whether it's an ebook or an audiobook or a printed book. But I'm not going to sit and rest on that, right? I'm going to keep making sure that we are familiar with the technology, that we know that we keep our eyes on what's happening, but we also maximize what we do best. We're great at working with creators, getting them to be as creative as possible and making sure as many people know about their books and continue to know about their books.
What do you do to also reinvigorate the political process to start allocating more funds to make sure libraries are accessible, they're promoting good technologies to help people read, say audiobooks or Kindles or whatever?
We're gonna start seeing it, we'll see what happens in the midterms. We have to hold our representatives accountable. We have to make sure the decisions they're making actually reflect the population. They don't always do it right now.
Yeah.
They're driven by some special interests and some money and some misinformation. And I do think that that's gonna change. We're gonna get to keep shining light on all this nonsense so then people know what the real story is, and then we can get rid of these bad laws and start encouraging kids to read again.
Yeah. Are you sure you're not gonna run?
Not a chance.
John, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Really cool learning about you and your company.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been great. Yeah.
I'm sorry, John.
Sorry, they'll cut that.
Joe.
That's your blooper.
Swear on my life, this is the first time this has ever happened.
I bring out the best.
I read this book to my daughter all the time. She smiles when I say brown bear, brown bear. Now what she doesn't read though are these two. Technology, so. I'm just joking, that's for the bloopers.